Hiroshima's 80th anniversary, US President Donald Trump, standing atop the White House roof, smirked and mimed a missile launch as he quipped, "Nuclear missiles." The timing, intentional or not, was impossible to ignore. On August 5, 2025, US President Trump made an unexpected appearance on the West Wing roof of the White House. While surveying construction zones, he was asked what he was building and replied with a smirk, "Nuclear missiles," mimicking a launch gesture toward the sky.
Mr. President, what do you want to build? What are you trying to build? Sir, can you improve nuclear missiles?
The comment appears tongue-in-cheek, part of Trump's theatrical style, yet came at a moment of high geopolitics, coming just a day before the 80th anniversary of Hiroshima. The remark reverberated widely across media and social platforms. The White House described it as part of his ongoing renovation of the estate. He is, remember, financing a $200 million East Wing ballroom, paving the Rose Garden and installing giant flagpoles, suggesting focus on aesthetics over armaments. On August 6, 2025, the world marked 80 years since the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, a moment that reshaped modern history. The detonation of a single atomic bomb over Hiroshima in 1945 killed nearly 140,000 people, ushering in not just the end of World War II, but the beginning of the apocalyptic atomic age. 3 days later, Nagasaki was bombed. The sheer devastation of these two events led to an emerging consensus in the decades that followed, that such weapons must never be used again. This gave rise to what is now known as the nuclear taboo, an unwritten but globally internalized norm that nuclear weapons, though they exist, must never again be used in conflict. That this taboo has held for 80 years is no small relief. Despite Cold War brinkmanship and regional conflicts, no nuclear-armed nation has crossed that line. But as we reach this milestone, the mood is less commemorative and more anxious. Hiroshima's 80th anniversary comes at a time when the nuclear taboo appears to be under increasing stress. The escalating war of words between the United States and Russia, with thinly veiled threats and nuclear posturing, is deeply concerning. So too is the casual rhetoric of nuclear deterrence, increasingly normalized in political speech, sometimes even as a joke. At the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park, survivors and leaders gathered in quiet remembrance. Mayor Kazumi Matsui, speaking for a city shaped by both trauma and resilience, urged the world leaders to abandon reliance on nuclear deterrence and warned against rising militarism in Ukraine, the Middle East and beyond. Meanwhile, on the nearby Ninoshima Island, researchers led by Webun Kayo continued a more literal form of remembrance. They are still recovering remains of victims hastily buried in the chaos following the bombing. Roughly 100 bone fragments have been found, including those belonging to children.
People today who don't know about the war focus only on the recovery, and they move the conversation forward while forgetting about these people here. In the end, it becomes like, even if you drop an atomic bomb, you can recover. That's why there will always be people who think it's okay to drop the bomb again. There will always be people who try to justify it in a way that suits them.
This painstaking excavation, ongoing since 2018, is not only an archaeological effort but a humanitarian one. It reminds us that for many, Hiroshima's cost is not just a memory. It is a wound that has never fully healed. In an age when nuclear rhetoric is becoming more cavalier and when military flashpoints are emerging in Iran, Israel, Ukraine and South Asia, the lessons of Hiroshima are more vital than ever. The taboo that once protected the world may be fraying. Hiroshima stands as a grave warning, one that must not be forgotten or ignored. recent developments show that global nuclear brinkmanship remains perilously alive. In June 2025, the US, under Trump's command, bombed Iranian nuclear facilities at Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan as part of what was billed as Operation Midnight Hammer. While Trump claimed total obliteration, damage assessments indicated delays of months rather than the end of Tehran's nuclear ambition. Iran retaliated with missile and drone attacks on Israeli and US bases and threatened to close the strategic Strait of Hormuz, which carries a quarter of global oil traffic. Days earlier, Israeli jets had struck Iranian nuclear installations and killed senior commanders in a coordinated aerial campaign, including Operation Red Wedding, targeting Natanz and other key sites. Iran responded with mass drone and missile barrages toward Israeli territory. Between May 7th and 10th, India launched Operation Sindoor against terrorist-linked infrastructure in Pakistan following the Pahalgam terror attack. While both sides agreed to a ceasefire on the 10th of May, satellite imagery later revealed that Indian missiles struck near the Kirana Hills, a site historically tied to Pakistan's nuclear program. Though Indian authorities denied targeting nuclear facilities, geointelligence experts confirmed impact zones within the Kirana Hills zone and damage at Sargodha Air Base and escalation into Pakistan's nuclear rare area. US intelligence reportedly feared India might escalate toward nuclear use, sparking alarm in Washington over the BrahMos missile system's potential, though India has maintained it's strictly conventional. Trump's rooftop quip and global nuclear flashpoints occur amidst Hiroshima's solemn 80-year remembrance. The contrast is stark. While survivors dig for fragments of the past, global leaders engage in rhetorical and strategic escalation. Hiroshima teaches humanity about nuclear destruction's irreversible consequences. Yet, the continuing militarism, whether in tweets, missiles, or covert strikes, suggests these lessons risk being forgotten. Eroding taboo, deepening risk from Washington airstrikes in Tehran to Russian nuclear saber-rattling. The political use and discussion of nuclear power and weapons are no longer taboo. Instead, they are tools of deterrence, projection, or political messaging. Without renewed commitment to disarmament, non-proliferation treaties, and restraint, rhetorical or covert nuclear threats risk rolling back norms established after Hiroshima. Donald Trump's impromptu, flippant comment about installing nuclear missiles on the White House roof might be dismissed as performative, but its timing, just before Hiroshima's 80th anniversary, and its context amid escalating nuclear crisis underscore it as symbol rather than absurdity. As researchers continue to honor Hiroshima's victims through meticulous searches on the Ninoshima Island, the world's political and military leaders are increasingly treating nuclear threats as tools, not warnings. If Hiroshima taught the world anything, it is that nuclear weapons bring catastrophe, not victory. Or as Mayor Matsui put it in Hiroshima's peace ceremony, the true lesson is to choose dialogue over deterrence.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.